Today's edition of Mac Voices is brought to you by Blue Apron. Blue Apron delivers fresh ingredients and recipes to your door so you can cook something new and interesting tonight. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by visiting blueapron.com/MacVoices. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. And by MacVoices Magazine, our free Flipboard magazine that brings you some of the best Mac, iPhone, and iPad productivity tips on the web. High in signal, low in noise, just like MacVoices, MacVoices Magazine includes information on how you can get more out of your Apple technology. Subscribe at macvoices.com/magazine or search for MacVoices Magazine on Flipboard. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is the road to Macstock. We're talking with the speakers, the presenters, anyone else we can find that is going to Macstock or will be presenting at Macstock or has anything to do with Macstock, because we want to make sure you have a good preview of the kind of people you will meet there, the kind of things you will learn there, and we really want you to join us in Woodstock, Illinois in July. So with this particular interview, this is the one that is just sort of rip the bandage off, get it done, and move on.
Get it over with?
Get it over with, because we've got Allison Sheridan with us. How are you, Allison?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to have my warm-up act on iChartRadio on today with me here, since, Chuck, you do the warm-up before I go on for my sessions on iChartRadio.
Yeah, that was an interesting way to couch it. You know, I saw you as batting cleanup myself. But,
well, either way, I have to clean up after your mess, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's been a lot of fun. Mike LaPlante, as you're alluding to, on iChartRadio, Ken Ray stepped down as a regular co-host, and Mike came up with the idea of having a panel of co-hosts, and it's been a blast.
It's an interesting combination because it's a panel, but it's a consistent set. So it's not like, people know we used to do the Mac Roundtable, and it was always hard to get a panel together. It was a real hassle. But this is people who've made a commitment. I am going to be on the show every 6 weeks. Yeah. Now, that said, I've actually asked for a vacation because Steve and I are going to the Galapagos and Machu Picchu, and I'm going to miss my time slot. So I asked for the time off already, and he said it was okay.
Good. So now I'm going to have to backfill for you. I see
so.
I see it coming already. So before I forget it, iChartRadio.com. You're definitely going to want to check that out. So you can hear me, Allison, Ken Ray still comes back, Big JD, Barry Falk was just on. Oh, and I'm blanking on some of the other co-hosts.
Yeah, me too.
That's embarrassing.
I'm so bad at that.
Yeah.
They're all amazing.
Yes, they are.
None as good as Chuck, of course.
Well, you know what? And I'm dead serious about this. I really admire Mike because his co-hosts all have such different styles. He's doing a terrific job of kind of being the glue that holds everything together. And that's not an easy task.
He's just so fun to talk to, and he's got, his voice. I'd give $1 million to have his voice. He's got the best voice, just so rich. And well, anyway, enough of the I Love Mike show.
Yeah. We're here to talk about Macstock, which is something I think it's one of the few things we can both agree on.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So this year, well, first of all, let's talk about last year, because last year you couldn't be there in person, and you probably had the only decent reason that anyone would accept.
Yeah, my daughter just poor timing decided to have a baby during Macstock, and we held it right down to the wire of if I didn't hear by a certain date, I would have to call it. He did end up coming after Macstock, but it was touch and go there for a while. To give you an idea of how important Macstock is to me, after we found out that we were going to be grandparents, the very first people we called was our friends Bill and Diane. The second 2 people we called were Mike Potter and Barry Falk. That is the order, because we looked at the calendar and went, oh dear, that's just going to land right on top of that. And so that's how important that is to us, is that we really wanted them to know, and said, I offered Mike an out and said, if you want to replace me. I felt terrible because they had actually called me and said, so we're trying to find a date that Chuck can't be there and you can. And that didn't work out, of course. But anyway, they had actually cleared the date with me ahead of time, like months and months before. So I felt terrible to call them and go, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to be there. But they were super gracious, of course, and made allowances. And I ended up doing my presentation over Skype, which wasn't the same, but we gave it a good shot anyway.
And to let you know how important I am to Allison, I heard about the grandchild after they took it home from the hospital. So that's I'm so
Chuck,
far down the list.
Are you saying you want to see baby pictures, Chuck?
Oh, no.
Here, let me add you to my email list right now.
Oh, God. Yeah, rip the Band-Aid off, like I said.
You invited me.
So, yeah. Only because Mike made me.
Oh, okay, that's true.
No, this year, though, you're going to be there in person, which I'm delighted over. That'll be great because it'll be great to see Steve. But you're going to talk about something that I don't think I've heard you talk about a lot, and that is Wunderlist.
Yeah, so I'm intrigued by to-do lists and getting things done kind of applications. And on the super high end, you've got the omni-focused stuff, and that's the kind of thing that super disciplined people can use and can get great things done. And I've just never been that person. I don't have that level of discipline. But I do need a place to make lists, and Wunderlist is a free application that is cross-platform, and I mean like cross-platform. It's Android, it's Windows, Mac, iOS. It's on. There's a web app. I think there's a Windows phone app, believe it or not. I'm not 100% sure on that. And like I said, if you're on Linux, you can use it on a web app. So I'm excited about a to-do list application that gives you a lot of capability, but it's free and has a business model. So they've got a freemium thing going, and lets you share lists between people. You can. I use it as honeydew lists. Steve loves that I use Wunderlist to give him little tasks and set little alarms to go off. And I use it constantly. It's one of my favorite apps. One of the first things I load on a new Mac.
So we obviously don't want you to give the presentation here.
Sure.
But other than the cross-platform capabilities, is there something else about Wunderlist that just fits your style of a to-do list, or is it its flexibility, or what draws you to it?
It doesn't have a ton of structure, but it has little light pieces of structure. So, for example, you can create a to-do, and then there always ends up being a subtask, right? And one of the things they teach you in getting things done, which I have studied and just don't do, is to break tasks up into pieces that you can actually execute. So you don't want to write plan vacation. Well, okay, you're going to go, well, I don't know. You need to put up some things like, say, find websites to look for good vacations, find dates, talk to so-and-so about what dates I can go. You just break the task down. So it has subtasks, but it doesn't have subtasks and subtasks. It doesn't keep going. It's got a little bit of depth to it, but not a ton of depth. It doesn't have all the tagging features and stuff that you get in an OmniFocus. It's definitely, I'm sure David Sparks' hair is curling as I describe this, so loosey-goosey, but it has probably the single best feature is it syncs instantly everywhere. I did a video for Don McAllister's ScreenCasts Online about Wunderlist, and I did demos where I had it on the Mac and I had the iPhone screen showing at the same time. It was the instant I hit the enter character, it would show up on the other device. It's just instant gratification. Reminders is a good choice for a lot of people. And in fact, I just finished doing one on reminders for Don's show. And, but the syncing gets there eventually. There'd be a few times where I'd be vamping while the thing's, jumping across the internet. It works well, but it is just 100% rock solid on Wunderlist.
It's so hard to have these kind of conversations and not want to dig in. But I will ask you this about the syncing. Is it through Dropbox or iCloud, or does it have its own syncing engine?
Wunderlist. It's just through Wunderlist.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, so the good thing about querying me about this is you're not going to miss what I'm actually going to say at the show, or you're not going to duplicate it, because I don't believe in doing charts. What I don't ever do, PowerPoint or what's the Apple one called?
Keynote.
I'm blanking. Keynote. I don't do keynotes. I just don't do them. I do live demos. I always do live demos, and I don't. I find charts really, really tiresome. I remember many years ago, we were having an event at work, and my boss lived in Tucson, and it was a year-end event, and each one of the directors was supposed to stand up and talk for a few minutes about their organization. My boss said, "Hey, can you go in my place? I don't want to fly all the way out just to do this little presentation." I said, "Sure." I said, "How long do I have to talk?" And she said, 6 minutes. I said, "All right, I think I can do that." And this guy from comms came to me. I'll never forget this. And he said, "Allison, when are we going to get your charts?" And I said, "Charts? Really? 6 minutes you want charts? Plural?" I said, "I wasn't going to make chart." This is crazy. I had my staff meeting every couple of weeks where I'd stand up, talk for 45 minutes without any charts at all. I might have 3 little dots, 3 little notes on a piece of paper or something. But I just don't find a lot of value in that kind of thing, in the kind of stuff I like to do. I have seen good presentations that have charts, but I'm just not that kind of person. So you could ask me all kinds of stuff about Wunderlist, but when you go to Macstock, you're going to see me doing it in Wunderlist. I mean, it's going to be live. You're going to actually learn how to use this tool when I'm doing that demo.
Okay, I'm going to take that and kind of turn it.
Okay.
Because I think you just struck something that really resonates with me, that OmniFocus is a terrific, fantastic program for the right user. Wunderlist is probably a terrific, fantastic program for the right user. But it's not, there are no perfect solutions out there for everyone, because just what you were describing with your presentation style, you're much more comfortable and feel that's more valuable. A lot of people would freak out over trying to do that because I'm not sure it's as disciplined, but maybe their heads just don't work quite the same way. And they would need lots of notes to try to figure out where they want to go next. I've seen you do presentations, and you're just kind of bouncing around doing your thing, and it works for you, and it's great. And that's why I'm kind of intrigued to watch you operate Wunderlist and see if it fits my style.
Yeah, and you bringing up looking for the right application. I remember my friend David Roth, when he was he had just read the Getting Things Done book, and he spent probably 3 months or something looking for the perfect Getting Things Done application. And he said, and then I realized I probably could have been getting a lot of stuff done in that 3 months if I hadn't been searching. So he just said, okay, this one, I'm just going to pick it. And I don't actually know which one he picked, but that wasn't important. It was getting something that fit his style and starting to work with it. I'm the kind of person that I use layers of ways to get things done. For example, when I was at work, I would throw something on the floor to remind me to do something, and invariably somebody would walk in my office and go, "Oh, you dropped that." No, put it back. If you don't throw it on the ground, I'm going to forget that I have to do that. Mm-hmm. And then there's the sticky notes, the little scribbled notes. I got, just because I use Wunderlist doesn't mean I don't have little notes all over my desk of things. Oh yeah, don't forget to do that. And so I do that too. And then the stuff that I'm really trying to be more disciplined about, I'll use Wunderlist. One of my favorite things I used Wunderlist for was I don't believe in using Migration Assistant if you've had a Mac for more than a year. And you're doing a migration. I really believe in doing a nuke and pave, and I mean bare metal. Start over, load every single thing from scratch. It is unbelievable how much better that actually works. Especially for nerds, people who load a lot of stuff, software. When I moved my mother and father-in-law to new computers, and I remember one time we were actually able to email the information from one computer to the other in order to migrate it, because he had so little data for his father. But I load so much junk. I had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applications. And anyway, I'll get back to Wunderlist in a minute with this, but I really believe that doing a nuke and pave is like cleaning out your closet. You have to take everything out of your closet and only put in what you are going to wear. If you start by just taking things out you're not going to wear, you get like 10 things. Do it the other way around, you're going to find 30 things that you don't wear. It works a lot better. So you doing that on the Mac, I thought, okay, well, I'm going to start a Wunderlist of what do I need to load. And I created one thing that's just called New Mac Setup. That's what the action item was. But then in the subtasks, No, I had several tasks, several things that I needed to do, but one of them was load new applications. And I had, I think 70 or so subtasks was, load one password, load Dropbox, load this, load that, dropping all those things in one by one. And I kept that as a list because now I actually have a list of what I need the next time I do it. And I know the order to do it because I wrote them down as I went. Ooh, man, I don't have one password. Better do that. Oh, text expander, the top three right there.
This is why I think it's interesting. Knowing you, I mean, you're militant about some things like the nuke and pave. And we were talking earlier about washing your driveway, which I don't understand.
Power washing driveways. We should get into that in a minute.
Yeah, no, we're not going to do that because that's just...
come on, that's my gadget pick. Don't I get to do a gadget pick on this show?
Oh, that's not good. That's not
If you ever had me on your Christmas shows again, I'd pick it.
Yeah. But the idea that you can be that passionate, and I'm with you. I've tried GTD, and the one thing I agree with GTD on is the best thing you can do is get it out of your brain and onto a piece of paper or onto Wunderlist or reminders or someplace, because then you don't lose it and you kind of free your mind up. But beyond that, every time I try GTD, it seems like I'm spending so much time categorizing and organizing
structure
and not getting it done. And so that's why I'm intrigued to see just how you operate. And again, I think for a lot of us, knowing you, it's going to make the demo more valuable because we kind of know how you approach things. And so to see then how you approach Wunderlist, it's going to become a completely different demo than, say, if somebody like David Sparks did it.
Yeah. It will be interesting. There's a lot of little pieces to it of the sharing of stuff too. So, for example, one of the things we've used Wunderlist is, let's say you go on a trip with a bunch of people. You go into the mountains, and the first thing you got to do is you got to go to the grocery store, right? So everybody's unpacking. You just have everybody start typing into a shared list. What do we need to get? And beer, wine. That's how you start your list. Eventually, you get to peanut butter and that sort of thing. And so you sit there typing all these things in, and then you go to the grocery store with a mob of people. Somebody finds beer, they can check it off, and it just checked off on everybody's list. And it's so fast that you're not going to accidentally get beer because it disappeared instantly from your list. It's just a funny little use of it, but it really works well for things like that too. I believe very strongly in that get it out of your head because it's cognitive load to keep going. Oh, I got to remember this. I got to remember this. I got to remember this. And so like we're going on this Galapagos trip. We have a list of weird things. Like we have one called, it's called packing weird stuff. Like knowing which electrical items to bring, like the different transformers for the different countries we're going to be in. We're going to be in Ecuador and Peru. So we've got a little note in there that we make sure that we bring those. But just getting that out and into a list somewhere. And it's actually interesting enough, not where I do packing lists. I do packing lists using iThoughts, which is a mind mapping application. And that to me makes more sense because you just throw glop in and then you rearrange it until you get all the electronics together. And, my mind maps are a huge, the whole right-hand side is always electronics. And then the left side will say, shirts, pants, baby shoes, might bring some, but the right-hand side is where all the good stuff is.
Anything that takes me inside your mind is just scary. So
I do Christmas lists in there too. Christmas presents, ideas for people, birthday presents. We're going down to see my daughter in a couple of days. We're going to the CSUN Assistive Tech conference this Friday. And there's just these things around the house. She was here last week and, we forgot to give her this, pile those things into a little list. And before we go, can check them off.
Blue Apron is sponsoring this edition of MacVoices, and I'm happy about it because I like to eat and I like to cook. The only trouble is that cooking takes time, more time than just preparing the food. It takes time to do the shopping, which means going to the store. It also means that I have to plan the trip to the store, which takes even more time. And let's not forget about finding the recipes to fix, which really starts the whole process. Blue Apron solves all those problems. When you try Blue Apron, you set your food preferences so you never get anything you don't like. Not a fan of seafood? Don't care for lamb? No problem. Just tell Blue Apron that, and they adjust your choices. Then, select your meal plan. Do you typically cook for 2 or for 4? Fill in some additional information for shipping, and get ready. When your Blue Apron box arrives, What you get is exactly what you need to cook fantastic, delicious meals. You get the recipes. You get all the ingredients in exactly the right proportions and quantities, so there's no waste. And you get it all packed and marked, so there can be no confusion about which ingredients go with which recipes. The ingredients that need refrigeration are packed between 2 ice packs to keep everything cold and frozen solid, even if you have to wait until you get home to unpack them. Everything is wrapped inside an insulated bag, so everything stays fresh and is protected from the outside world. Then the fun begins, because all you have to do is follow the step-by-step instructions to create something you probably haven't had before. Blue Apron is always developing new and interesting recipes, and they don't repeat anything for a full year. Remember my time concerns? Blue Apron meals can be fixed in 30 to 40 minutes from start to finish. So they're not only delicious and convenient, but they won't cost you an evening's work preparing them. Blue Apron truly is a better way to cook. I want you to try Blue Apron right now by visiting blueapron.com/MacVoices. When you do, Blue Apron will send you 3 free meals delivered to your door free, so you can have the Blue Apron experience top to bottom. You get the pleasure of cooking and eating delicious food with your family, and you get to try Blue Apron for free while you do it. I know you're going to love it because I love it. That's blueapron.com/MacVoices for 3 free meals and free shipping. Sign up right now and start eating better. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. Thanks to Blue Apron for their support of MacVoices. I'm curious. I'm trying not to dig in too much, even though you said what you did. How much voice control is there, or voice capability in Wunderlist? Do you have? I can say Siri.
Right.
The Amazon devices. It's because one will answer me if I say it, or Google Home.
I haven't checked to see if there's a skill for Amazon. That's a good question. There's no Siri integration.
Okay.
What's interesting, I use a combination of Wunderlist and reminders. So for reminders are a little more short term. So I use Siri all the time. I say, hey, and on my watch especially, I'll be on a walk and I'll say, remind me to tell Dave Hamilton he was wrong when I get home. And because I do that when I'm listening to podcasts, right? So I know Dave is usually wrong. So I can set that as a reminder when I get home. And the location awareness that it has with your phone, I'll walk into the house and it'll say Dave is wrong, which is, just nice to see anyway. And then I can remember to do that. Or you can say with reminders, you can say when I'm getting into or out of the car. So it notices when you pair with Bluetooth and unpair with Bluetooth, it'll recognize, and not just any Bluetooth, the Bluetooth in your car, somehow it recognizes it. So I use reminders for those little tiny things that are just like, I want to do something at 3:00. Mm-hmm. But long-term stuff that I'm keeping that I want to remember, I've got a list of stuff I want to do for the podcast. It's called near-term podcast. By the way, never do that. I have a near-term and a long-term. Who opens the long term? I haven't even looked in that list. I don't know what's in it. It's where I put stuff that I'm apparently never going to get done, because when I get tired of seeing it in my near term, I just move it to the other one.
And then it's gone. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I wonder what's in there. I haven't even looked lately. Oh, there's a bunch of stuff in there.
Yeah. Well, and this is something that I find with a lot of productive people, that no matter how good a solution is, it's never quite exactly right. So they end up using 2, sometimes even 3 categories. Things to do lists, note-taking apps, those kind of things. I know I use multiple browsers for different things, sometimes because it's just, okay, when I'm over here in this browser, I want to be doing just this and nothing else. And, and that's the way I kind of run, because my laptop is for work and for home. When I'm in browser A, I'm going to be doing MacVoices stuff, and browser B, and and then I'm doing the work stuff. So it's
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on what works for you. And
do you ever sit down at your Mac though and go, okay, I want to do this, and you just stop, and you have no idea what app it is you use to do something?
No. I really don't, because I try not to. I try not to do what you were talking about, just constantly load apps. I try to be really critical about that, because I don't want to waste time. If I have a hole in my productivity that something promises to fill, I will try it. But if not, you're going to have a hard time convincing me to.
What if it's somebody you're about to interview? You wouldn't get their product and take a look at it first, or you just
that's
make
a little,
stuff up when you talk to them?
No, gee, thank you. No, that's a fair point. Something like that I will do, but I don't do it as thoroughly as you might for a review, because I kind of want to approach it fresh. If I can, not as somebody that has gone in and dug deep, unless that's the kind of interview we're going to do.
All right, Chuck. How many apps have you got in your applications folder right now?
Oh,
so this is a clean install. I'll vamp for you while you go count.
Oh no!
Look at the window.
No way. I mean a lot. There's no question. It needs to be cleaned out. I don't know about that. It's just I have apps in there that you might use twice a year for something, but when I need them, I really need them.
Yeah, I've got 127 apps, and this is a clean install I did in October, something like that. So it really does stack up, and so because of that, I sit there and I go, okay, I want to write my notes about this, and I don't know, where am I going to start? So I do get myself confused, but I'm a lot older than you, Chuck. That's probably the problem, right?
Well, that could contribute to it. Yeah, probably. Probably. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, getting back to Macstock, one of the things I want to emphasize with, if you do come to see me, one of my things I like to tell people is, I may not always be right, but I'm always entertaining. I will entertain you while I'm up there, if nothing else.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's extremely entertaining to watch apps crash. As Allison tries to use them.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had any big failures in doing that. That would be a tricky one if I did have a complete meltdown of the application. Yeah. But we've all had that. You get up there and your laptop won't connect or something like that, right?
Yeah. But Mike does such a great job, the way he structures things, of having people ready to go, and
oh yeah,
it was so. I know you weren't there last year, but it really was very, very smooth, and I think.
Can I gush about Mike for a minute? Is that allowable?
Sure.
I am still amazed. So I went to the first Macstock, missed the second one, but I still cannot believe that he hasn't been doing this professionally for 25 years. I was shocked by the professionalism of everything. I mean, there were no glitches. I can find something to complain about in anything. I am that guy, right? Well, you know that. You're an easy mark, but I mean, the food was on time. The food was hot. The food was plentiful. The lines were designed correctly to go on either side of the table to have minimum wait times. The tables were set up appropriately where you could meet new people. The badges were there when they should be there. The speakers, the people to take care of the speakers were there. The audio was there. The video was there. The agenda. The website was gorgeous. I mean, there wasn't anything to complain about. Not one single thing could I think of that I would say, hey, you know what you should have done. And I really do pride myself on finding things wrong. It was unbelievable. It was the most amazing thing. And you guys go look at the website at what is it, MacstockExpo.com?
It's at MacstockConferenceandExpo.com, or Macstock2017.com is the easy one for this year.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. That's easier. MacStock2017.com. Go over there and look at how smooth that website runs. Look at how slick it is, how all the information you need is right where it is. That's what being there is like. It's that good. And I really, really liked one problem is if you go to a conference where there's 15 different tracks going on at the same time, you always feel like you missed the good one, And I know he has a little bit of sidetrack stuff going now. I'll see whether I can find something to complain about that. But he leaves enough gap between the sessions that you have time to talk to people. And that's where the real fun comes in. I always look at these kind of things as the person on stage is just the excuse for you to be there so that you can talk to somebody in the hallway. So if you go, especially if you go with a buddy, try to just talk to new people. And years ago, I used to go to a conference with a couple of people who worked for me, and they would go around the conference together the whole time. They would go to sessions together. When there was a break, they would stand alone together at lunch and eat by themselves. And I told them, I said, I could just spend half as much money and send one of you and learn the same amount of information. you two split up. So I would purposely go by myself and just walk up to somebody and say, hey, what do you do? Just walk up and say that. Or, so, what do you do with your Mac? What do you do with your iPhone? And these are all people that are going to be fun to talk to, And if we're pretty much nerds, we're all the ones that were asked last to the kickball team, right? So everybody is. Oh, are you a big old athlete there, Chuck? That face you just made at me.
Well, I was not exactly last on the kickball team, Allison.
Were you first, Chuck? Were you?
I don't remember, Allison.
Stud muffin, you. Okay, last asked to dance. You know what I mean? I mean, the nerds. We were. You're a little more socially acceptable, so I don't think you're really that technical. Is part of what happens there. But
thank you. I think. Wow.
But people are there to talk to other people. That's why you're there. You're there to learn and go to find other people who are interested in these same things you are. All of the events, all of it. It's so much fun. I really, really like it. The vibe.
Yeah, and the one thing I'm afraid with the Road to Macstock interviews is that people are going to feel like this is a little club, that we know each other, and that's why we're going. And no question about it, that's why we go. But every I've gone this third year, right? Yeah. I've gone both years, and I always meet new people and new friends that you stay in touch with.
It's to get new people in the club.
Yeah,
that's what it's for.
Yeah, and so if do not be intimidated. You're going to walk in, and they're all kind of friends that you just haven't met yet. I've used that line a couple times, and it really is true. So
the perfect example of that. And now I'm blanking on the guy's name, but a bunch of us were sitting at the Chieftain having drinks after a night of Macworld, and but a club, right? It was all of us who all knew each other. And this guy walks up and he says, hi, and he sits down. And we said, oh, hi. Do we, how do we know you? And he goes, I know you guys from Twitter. I said, all right. And then we had beers with him. And I'm just terrible at names. I mean, I'm friends with a guy on Facebook, watch his daughter all the time, plays guitar. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
I'm terrible at names. Anyway, but he walked in and said, okay, I want to be part of the club. Okay. And I remember Barry talking about that was why he wanted to get this event started in the first place, was that he wanted that vibe back where everybody was a friend you hadn't met yet. And you just wanted to get more people like this that you could go talk to. And, it's not a constant, I got this new application and I was looking at the P list in my preference file, and it wasn't really, I think it's corrupted. I'm not sure. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about dogs and golf and music or what. Well, I'm not talking about music, but we're talking about everything else about life but we're all, I don't know, we're fun.
Yeah,
everybody's fun there. Yeah. I didn't meet anybody cranky.
Yeah, and if you look at some of the photos, I mean, and some of the karaoke videos from last year, that just gives you an idea.
Oh, I can't believe I missed Don singing "Oh Danny Boy." That broke my heart. I watched that video, but I'm sure that wasn't the same, right?
No, it really wasn't. Don did a good job. Don did a real good job.
Yeah, he's a musician. So, are you going to be taking the karaoke this year?
I don't think they're doing karaoke this year, but even if they do, no, I see no reason to just clear the whole place out right away. So if you haven't heard a reason to go to Macstock, I think it's there right there. Right, the title is "Chuck Will Not Sing." Yes, good point. Good point. So we're talking about July. We're talking about Woodstock, Illinois, outside of Chicago. A full weekend of great Mac stuff, great Mac people and Apple people. Lots of terrific presentations, like Allison's on Wunderlist. And I hope to give you more of a sample, folks, of what you're going to be hearing about or hearing at Macstock in the next couple months as we go along. But Allison, as much as we like to joke back and forth, I don't know how this ever got started. It just kind of did, but we do have a good time with it.
I don't know. Yeah. Shh, don't tell anybody. We actually like each other.
Yeah. Well,
I like you, Chuck.
And I like Steve. He's a good guy. The man is a saint. The man's a saint. Hey, just in case people don't know where to find you, give us the quick rundown on everything.
All right. Well, my website is podfeet.com. That's where you can find everything. And I do the NosillaCast, which is a weekly tech show. It's been going over 11 years. Yeah, it's coming up on 12 in May. Haven't missed a show in 11 years. literally have not missed a show. It's quite a streak going. And that's mostly me, and I'm doing reviews. It's a Technology Geek podcast with an ever so slight Macintosh bias. And the other show I do now is called Chit Chat Across the Pond. This one's a little bit uneven. Every other week, it's a light interview with somebody. Like last week, I had this great interview. Megan Mulroney and Jason Howell from TWiT came on and talked about their experience switching Android and iOS. So she's an iOS user. She used Android for a month, and he used iOS for a month, and he's an Android user. And it was funny. It was entertaining. It was fantastic. It was a lot of fun. The other every other week is a little bit more of a tight propeller beanie episode. Bart Bouchatz from bartb.ie and the Let's Talk series of podcasts comes on every other week, and he's teaching us JavaScript programming in a segment he calls Programming by Stealth. He kind of snuck up on us did some HTML and then some CSS, and now we're doing JavaScript. And it's really hard, but it's really, really good, and it's been a lot of fun. And he's also on the regular show doing security bits every other week where he tells us whether or not we need to light our hair on fire about things. So,
let's see.
Other than that,
Facebook, Twitter, you're everywhere. You're Podfeet, right?
So, yeah, if you use Podfeet, I put everything at podfeet.com/whatever. So if you want to find me, it's podfeet.com/Twitter, podfeet.com/Facebook, I've got a great Facebook community, got a good Google Plus community, podfeet.com/Google Plus. It makes it easier. Just podfeet.com/whatever it is you want to do with me. Podfeet.com/Macstock.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Hey, Allison, it's great to talk to you as always, and I really am looking forward to having you back at Macstock. It's going to make the weekend even more fun, no question.
Oh, thanks. Well, maybe I can corner you at the barbecue or the evening party and talk to you about power washers.
I think that'd be a great idea. Yes. Bring along all the specs, please, because I know you're going to have them memorized.
I have a blog post about it.
I don't doubt it for a second. I really don't.
I have one about my chainsaw too.
You have a chainsaw?
Yes. Steve got me a chainsaw for my birthday one year, and that same year was when I got my power washer for Mother's Day. He's the best.
Okay. On that note, we'll see you at Macstock.
We'll see you then, Chuck.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. I've said it now 3 or 4 times during the show. Please join us at Macstock in Woodstock, Illinois in July. We're going to have a blast, and we know you will, so we hope you'll be there. Until the next time, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes, links to subscribe, and to connect with Chuck on Twitter, Google+, Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, SoundCloud, the MacVoices blog, the MacVoices Dispatch, our weekly newsletter, and on MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard that helps you do more with your Apple tech. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.